Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, we're talking education with former State Senator Patricia Farley and Alexander Marks. He's the NSEA political coordinator. Here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Hi, I'm Renee Summerhour, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from the Ahern Hotel in downtown Las Vegas. We are delighted to welcome back to the program former State Senator Patricia Farley and Alexander Marks, who is the Nevada State Education Association political coordinator and best dressed man on this show. That's all I can tell you.
And maybe in Nevada politics.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's not push it. Okay, Randolph Townsend may come back.
That's
so.
true.
That's
I have a funny story about him.
Always an important point. Okay, so let me ask you about endorsements. Did NSEA do an endorsement for governor in this race?
We did. Actually, last night we endorsed Governor Steve Sisolak's re-election campaign. We sat down with him. A lot of our questions were regarding our Time for 20 campaign. So we have a Time for 20 campaign that calls for a 20% increase in educator salary, $20 an hour for the workers who make our schools run, and an average class size of 20 students per class. He was on board with those proposals. He supports them. So that was pretty much all the answer we needed to get behind his re-election. And we're looking forward to having a partner in that effort for Time for 20 next legislative session.
This program may well air after the election, so I just want to point that out for our discussion. Were you surprised that after everything that the CCA went through, that they did not endorse?
No, I'm not in the room with those folks.
I realize that.
I don't know what their ultimate decisions were. I think when you look at the platform of each candidate, both Sheriff Lombardo and Governor Steve Sisolak, one candidate's platform is much more pro-public education than the other. And when you talk to your average educator, they're more in line with Governor Sisolak's platform of not moving money from public schools to either private schools or charters or vouchers. So they can make whatever non-endorsement they want to, but I think it's a little out of step with the educators that we spoke to and why ultimately that we made our decision. I
have a funny feeling, Senator Farley, you may have a slightly different point of view.
Slightly. Not on the teacher's side of it, but I run a charter school for an all-girl, first all-girl public charter school here in Nevada. As a parent of 4 children, I want to see options. I fully agree that we need to pay our teachers and our support staff much more. I mean, I don't know how they do it, right? But I think we need to rethink education. And having 4 different children with different education needs, one-stop solutions don't fit every child. And so what I get concerned about when I see the constant public education platform continue to move forward, it's not necessarily always looking to address meeting children where they're at. Sometimes you find charter schools are specialized and they have specialized programs. Sometimes your child needs a private school because their needs just dictate that, and a public school is not set up to meet that child's needs. So for me, I think we absolutely, I'm a big believer that education is the great equalizer. I think we need to have a robust, strong public education system, and I think we also need answers for parents whose children might not fit into that equation successfully. And so that's where I get concerned when I see the politics of this play out and politicians trying to take stance on stuff like that. I would like to see a politician stand up for children.
All right, Alexander, you want to respond?
I don't disagree with much of what you said. I don't think, we're certainly not anti-charter school, but the field needs to be leveled. Not every teacher.
In what way?
Not every teacher at a charter school needs to have a licensure. We tried to pass that last legislative session to make sure that if you teach in a charter school, you should have a license through the Nevada Department of Education. I think that's fair, because if you're a teacher at a public school, you have to be licensed. We're not against private schools, but we shouldn't have taxpayer dollars going to funding those items. Parents want to send their child to private school, they're allowed to do that. We're not anti that, but we are anti making sure that we're fully funding our public schools first before we're moving money out, which we would oppose anyways, because, I put it this way, our students have never gone to a Nevada school, public school, that's been fully funded. And before that ever happens, that we have a discussion about vouchers and all that other stuff, we need to fully fund our education system.
We need to educate our children. So whether it's voucher, and I kind of get that whole dynamic, but if I'm we'll just say a single mother, right, I'm making $45,000 a year, and my child needs services that cannot be found in the public system, and or the public system is too taxed, I need an avenue to educate my child. I don't need to put my child into the public system, which has already told me they cannot meet my child's needs. And I think we missed that in the conversation. Being a board chair for a charter school, I agree on the teacher needing to be certified. One of our standards is we like to hire teachers who have their master's degrees and that are really into teaching, because in the love of teaching, and then creating an environment where they can professionally meet their goals. And what we've seen is the children thrive with that. So I completely agree with that, but I think when we get stuck on only one option, and one option that has failed for not just 5 years or 7 years, for decades now, has been failing our children, I think I'm behind the candidate that says, okay, I'm open to educating children, however that happens, and whatever is best for that child and that family, because I think we're stuck.
Okay, so the word that stands out to me is failing. Mm-hmm. How do you respond to that?
I think that's a broad word to use. I mean, kids are learning, teachers are teaching, but we have not fully funded our public schools. So I think, to the senator's point, some of the items she's talking about of services and that are unmet would be met if we actually fully funded public education. It would create a robust system that would have all those resources that parents and educators need, so that we're avoiding the problem at all that people say this system is failing. We are chronically underfunded. We've always been chronically underfunded, but that's why we're advocating for obviously fully funding, but also taking care of our educators through the Time for 20 campaign, because what ends up happening is you lose educators. And then that's why people say the system fails, because Clark County has currently 1,000 vacant positions open. So that's 1,000 classrooms with no certified teacher in them. So it's kind of, I don't want to say self-fulfilling prophecy, but you don't fund it, so the numbers are no good, and the teachers leave, so it looks like it's failing, but it wouldn't be failing if we just did what we were supposed to do and fully fund public education. Okay,
but you've just seen mining contribute a large amount of money into education. Mm-hmm. You've seen previous administrations put in large amounts of money into education. Is it $1 billion figure that you're looking for? Because that's the excess that we have within the system right now going into the next budget year.
Right.
Is that a number that fulfills it? Is it a larger number? Is it a lesser number?
So we look to...
Or what's a realistic number?
So the realistic number that I would point to would be the, so in the 2019 legislative session, the legislator passed Senate Bill 543, which created the Commission on School Funding. They were tasked with coming up with recommendations to figure out what optimal funding meant for Nevada. In a couple weeks, they should be presenting their actual plan for what that looks like. They've given approximate numbers between $2.8 billion and $3.2 billion over the next 10 years that will need to be infused into public education. So the $500 million that was called historic pretty much just got us back to where we were pre-pandemic, but didn't really move the needle on optimal funding. So if hopefully the next legislature looks at those recommendations, I'm hopeful after the hard work that we've all put in on that, whether it's just watching those hearings or the actual experts in the room saying this is what you need, here are the revenue streams you can find this money from, whether that was a 3-year endeavor that was for naught, or if they're actually serious about implementing it, it will get us to what that number is supposed to be.
All right, so that's about $640 million per biennium.
It's about, I think the total is about 728 total, give or take. I mean, but it's close.
I need my calculator.
You're fine. It's a lot of money, but how serious were the legislators who passed that commission into law, are they, about implementing those recommendations? We were largely supportive of the preliminary suggestions during the last legislative session, but they're coming up with the final version to be presented to the Education Committee before the legislative session. I'm hopeful they will take them and implement them, but that's where the pot of money comes from.
All right, so Senator, $720 million.
So I'm just going to say, I think I was in the 2015 session when we heard the number that was going to solve all the problems of all the world, and that was 7 years ago, and now we're back again. But the interesting thing is, I would agree that we need the money. I think what people don't understand is most of our social services and our schools are underfunded. The problem is I think how the funding is, and that we keep coming back to the trough and we don't really ever see marketable change in the education system. We only see more money. And so there needs to be a way of communicating that to the average person, that where I see the benefits of my tax dollars, right? I see the benefit to my children. I see the benefit to my community. All I ever hear, because I'm not seeing it, all I ever hear is, well, if we had more money. Well, if I had more money, my life would be better too, right? And you know what I would do? I'd come back and ask for more, because that's what we're training that system to be. So for me, I don't disagree with anything that Alexander said, because I think he's hitting the nail on the head. I just think that we also missed a large part of the problem in the interim. So we can't take 20 more years to fix this and lose generations of children in the education process. We have to do both. At this point, we have got to step back and look at the kids who are failing and not surviving our current system, and we need to do both. We need to catch them up, and we need to fix our system so that we don't run dual processes continuing forward, and that we're not exhausting the businesses and the residents with the constant, well, your kid's not getting educated, but if you gave me another $1 billion, that might happen. Because then people have moved away and become apathetic to the ask.
Okay, so Alexander, is it a question of accomplishment versus marketing of that accomplishment, or are the critics correct?
I think there's some value to that, what she had just said. I think the part I would probably dovetail a little bit more on is the funding formula that was passed in the 19th session. NSEA opposed it. We're still having issues with it. I think if you came up with a funding formula that worked, which I don't believe they did, and just in types of like a rural district, for instance, with our collective bargaining issues we're having with this. So the money getting down to where it's supposed to is not getting down to where it's supposed to. It gets muddled up, and that's the issue we've always had, and I think Nevada is that we have some money, and then it doesn't get to where the students actually need it. It doesn't get to our classrooms. It gets held up elsewhere. That's something I would like to see change with the funding formula, at least in terms of a collective bargaining or a hold harmless issue. I think that's part of the issue. I think you look to see what this is doing to some teacher salaries and ESP salaries. That's going to be a problem, and that's the funding formula's new formula that caused that. So I think the fact that educators were shut out of that process, we could have certainly helped a little bit more. And we'll be back in 2023 to help clarify those. And I think we have the commitment from the governor to help clarify some of those issues for us.
As I said, we're taping this before the election, so we'll find out whether he's the governor or not, because those polls are pretty darn close.
They are very close.
Let's take a break, and we'll come back much more after this time out.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. One of the things I love about the Carson Valley Inn here in beautiful downtown Minden is CV steak. I have eaten here so many times. Tell folks what they can expect when they come here to eat.
It's a beautiful room, great service. We have certified Angus beef, seafood, lamb, a great range of appetizers, and wonderful desserts. Jean-Michel's done a great job of selecting some beautiful wines for us. The customers love it, and we've got a great selection of cocktails as well. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years.
Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with former State Senator Patricia Farley and Alexander Marks, who is the Nevada State Education Association Political Coordinator. One of the things I found interesting in the last year or so is that the Metro Police Department is part of a national program that's taking mental health out of policing, so that when people call in and it's a mental health issue, that they are able to move it off to mental health professionals, as against having an officer on the beat try to be everything to everybody. That has been a problem, I know, for teachers forever. What are your thoughts about the Metro program and how that might be applied in some way to the school districts so that teachers could concentrate on teaching and not everything else that they have to worry about?
I think that's a great point. I don't know the specifics of the Metro policy, but I can tell you that we actually have another campaign called Respect Educators Act that we're going to be rolling out, and part of that is the mental health and school violence aspect of that. So a couple legislative sessions ago, there was a restorative justice bill that was passed into law with zero funding. Since then, it's been very difficult to implement this bill, obviously with no teaching or no training or no money behind it. So, some folks think it means this, and some folks it means that. We're very encouraged that the Department of Education, the Nevada Department of Education, has spent a few $1 million from the American Rescue Plan funds on hiring coaches to start training folks in restorative justice practices. So that's one aspect that we're very excited about, because it needs to happen. But focused on mental health for teachers is huge. I mean, that's also one reason people are leaving. So whether it's just overcrowded class sizes or the violence itself, we all know that awful, awful story from earlier this spring. So that's why we're focused on making sure that our teachers feel safe in the classrooms, when they're leaving the classrooms, when they're leaving the schools. But that's an area that needs to continually be monitored, so that our educators can just teach our kids, because their working environments are our students' learning environments, and if that's a violent environment, then nobody's going to be better off for that.
Senator, mental health, it's such a huge issue.
It is. And I mean, more and more of our children are showing up at schools with trauma in their lives, whether it be neglect, parents, parental abuse, sexual abuse, food issues. I mean, it's just crazy. And then you get 30 of these kids from different backgrounds sitting in a classroom and with one teacher, right, who's never been trained in mental health, when either identifying that child's problem or productively handling that child's problem. So what's interesting is I've been lately delving into more of the theories of play, putting play back into school, and it sounds like I am advocating for more recess, but the actual teaching children socialization and play again, and happiness and communication skills, and helping them start to be able to articulate what's going on, putting safe adults back in the classroom. But I think that what Metro is doing and what the school district is talking about doing, and getting more mental health and wraparound service around these kids, is crucial for a nonviolent society, because if we can deal with the child and give the child again what it needs, we are then servicing our teachers by making sure we have safe environments, but we're preventing future problems. So when you look at some of these mass violence in schools, if you go back through that child's history, a lot of it is antisocial behaviors. It was bullying. They were bullied. They didn't feel heard. They had issues at home. They had mental health issues at home. And so I think going to where the issue is starting from stops the violence down the road. So I think that's a great way of looking at it, both from helping the teachers manage it, because that's who's the front line right now, and then bringing in the experts so that these kids have, and these families have resources. It's amazing how depleted they are here in Southern Nevada.
And in talking, Alexander, about socialization, you know, it was fascinating to watch during the whole COVID period, where everything is online, everything is telephones. Are we losing a generation in some ways to their ability to concentrate on a phone, but not necessarily in the classroom?
I don't think so. I think, you know, again, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Some students thrived more than others during online learning. But I think that's, again, to pivot back a little bit to the American Rescue Plan, or what we're calling them the school rescue funds. I mean, that's what those are in there, is for the academic recovery for those students who may have been a little bit more behind, to help them out. So hopefully those funds get implemented properly so that we make sure that we're making sure where they need to be when they're, you know, graduating, whatever grade it is. But we're encouraged by that. I think there's a lot of good programs in there that can help that. But, you know, some students did better than others, and, you know, that's how it is in person, or whether it's in person or online.
All right, Senator, I'll let you respond after this quick timeout.
Safety is the #1 priority for the trucking industry. Over $7 billion a year is spent on technology like this electronic eye that will apply the brakes automatically. But the most important factor for safety is the truck driver. These hardworking men and women who safely move over 70% of our nation's freight and 94% of Nevada's. We thank you, because trucks move America forward.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
With Nevada's only transplant center and verified burn center, the science is here. With award-winning cardiologists and the state's only dedicated heart failure clinic, the talent is here. With Nevada's most advanced robotic surgery, the technology is here. And with the Silver State's only designated pediatric trauma center, hope is here. All because we are here. UMC.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Alexander Marks. He's the Nevada State Education Association Political Coordinator, and former State Senator Patricia Farley. So I throw the socialization question to you.
So I have 4 children. 2 are in high school, 2 are in middle school. We went through COVID. 1 thrived on online learning, 3 failed miserably at it. And you could see it in their education and their socialization. I actually ended up taking my 2 younger children and putting them into an alternative school. It's kind of like a micro-schooling, but it's private school, and it's built around play. So one child is off the charts intellectual, the other child has had every negative statistics impact them and their ability to learn. And both are thriving in this environment, and it's all built around play. It's going back to the 1950s, back to kindergarten, and teaching children to work in teams and to be happy and to solve their problems, and it's absolutely phenomenal. You will hear more from me coming up into this next legislation through the Children's Advocacy Alliance, talking about this as a policy that we need to be implementing in our schools.
Alexander, you want to respond?
I'm excited to hear more about that. We work a little bit with the Children's Advocacy Alliance and numerous causes, whether it's revenue or any other cause for that matter. But so they're partners of ours, and we're excited to hear about that during the legislative session.
We got about a minute left here. So Clark County, I'm already thinking February. Clark County School Board, once again, it seems like there's a lot of craziness there. And of course, talk comes up again about breaking up the district. What's the Education Association's thoughts on that?
At this point, we would oppose it. The issue we have, one, is the inequities, but secondly, if you break the school district up, what happens to all the union contracts? We would worry about that. It could be viewed as a union busting tactic. It has been in the past. I think in previous sessions, that was an idea they threw out to hurt unions. So I don't know if there's a way to do that equitably and without harming the unions, so we would oppose that.
Okay, 10 seconds.
Break it up. It's about the kids. We'll figure out the union stuff on the other side.
All right, and that's where we have to leave it. Thank you both very much for this spirited discussion, and we'll be right back.
Ahern Rentals began as Signal Gas Station on Las Vegas Boulevard. Founder John Ahern grew the business by offering rentals. His son Don built on John's legacy, growing Ahern Rentals into the largest independently owned American rental company, with 89 locations in 30 states. Don also brought his experience and vision to equipment manufacturing with Extreme Manufacturing and Snorkel. Today, Ahern Rentals continues to bring its family values to a new generation. Learn more at ahern.com.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take an Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
Safety is the #1 priority for the trucking industry. Over $7 billion a year is spent on technology like this electronic eye that will apply the brakes automatically. But the most important factor for safety is the truck driver. These hardworking men and women who safely move over 70% of our nation's freight and 94% of Nevada's. We thank you because trucks move America forward.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com. We'll see you on the next show.